Richard, you knocked me off my feet. I mean, we all had the best time with you up there on that stage. I really feel something when I see you up there and hear you up there. And now, this is what I'm gonna do for you.
Heartbreaking news for Richard Goodall. The sorrow hits deeper than his deep notes. When Richard Goodall sang "Don't Stop Believin'" on television, people everywhere felt his power. Raised in a small Indiana town, he swept floors before his singing swept across the internet. This man, known for his booming voice, hides a life filled with unexpected turns and heavy shadows. But what could bring such a promising star back into the depths of despair? It's evident that the truth is more devastating than we ever anticipated, and this is just the beginning of what will shock you. The Silent Symphony of an Indiana Childhood. Richard's life began in Indiana, where he grew up in a community that, while not rich in money, was rich in emotional support. From a young age, he was drawn to music. He discovered his talent while singing alone in his room to the tunes from his old stereo. This became his private way of nurturing a dream that seemed distant, a dream that grew with each song he sang in those quiet moments. Richard was unaware that a shocking revelation was about to change his life forever. High school opened new doors for Richard. He joined the school choir, which became a place where he could refine his voice. As he got older, he also joined a gospel choir, where he sang for 8 years. But then something unexpected happened. The coronavirus pandemic hit, and the choir could no longer gather. But this wasn't the worst part. Richard had always dreamed of making a difference with his music, but he had to face the hard truths of adult life. He needed a steady job, and college wasn't an option because it was too expensive. With limited choices, he became a janitor at Chauncey Rose Middle School. To some, this might have seemed like giving up on his dreams. But for Richard, this job provided the security he needed while still allowing him to dream. For over 20 years, Richard took care of the school, making sure everything was clean and welcoming. Even though his tasks were simple, he never lost his love for music. He would sing while he worked, his voice filling the halls and touching the hearts of students and teachers alike. People around him couldn't help but notice his talent. The students and staff were deeply moved by his singing, and they encouraged him to share his voice beyond the walls of the school. Their support turned his daily routine into something special, and he became known as Mr. Richard to everyone who heard him. But the story doesn't end here. During school events, especially on Veterans Day, Richard would sing "God Bless the USA" by Lee Greenwood. His heartfelt performances often moved people to tears and inspired others to follow their own dreams. His voice didn't just show his talent, it showed his ability to lift up those around him and bring them together. Inspired by the support of his local fans, Richard decided to take a big step toward his dreams. His fame as the singing janitor spread beyond his town, eventually bringing him to the stage of America's Got Talent. There, people across the country got to see the man who had turned every challenge into a stepping stone. Many people might see Richard Goodall's job as a janitor as lowly or unimportant, but he didn't feel that way at all. Richard believed that his role at Chauncey Rose Middle School gave him a special chance to make a difference in the lives of the students. Even though his work was simple, he felt it was an opportunity to teach kids valuable lessons, like respect and gratitude, which he believed were more important than any subject taught in the classroom. Richard often talked about how saying "yes sir," "no sir," "please," and "thank you" were not just good manners. They were important values that he could pass on, even if he wasn't a teacher. This showed not only how seriously he took his job, but also his deep desire to help his community in any way he could. His dedication to his job and his love for music showed how committed he was to both serving others and following his dreams. As Richard got older, he had to face many challenges and responsibilities, but he never gave up on his passion for music. This determination led to a big question. Could his love for singing eventually take him from the simple hallways of a middle school to a much bigger stage that could change his life? But this wasn't the worst part. Richard had tried to make it in the music world before. He had auditioned for America's Got Talent back in 2009 and also tried out for The Voice, but both attempts ended in rejection. These failures shook his confidence and made him doubt if he was really good enough. But the students at his school didn't let him forget how talented he was. They kept encouraging him, urging him to try again. And finally, he decided to give America's Got Talent another shot. In 2024, Richard found himself standing on the big stage of America's Got Talent. It felt like both an ending and a beginning. As he looked out at the judges, Simon Cowell, Sofia Vergara, Heidi Klum, and Howie Mandel, he felt a wave of nerves wash over him. Standing in front of such famous judges and a live audience was overwhelming. But he knew this was his chance to show the world what he could do. Simon Cowell noticed his nerves and encouraged him to shake them off, and the audience cheered him on. Taking a deep breath, Richard began to sing, "Don't Stop Believin'." At first, there was some doubt in the room, but as his voice filled the air, the skepticism turned to surprise and then to admiration. But this wasn't the best part. The reaction to his performance was immediate and powerful. Simon Cowell nodded in approval, Heidi Klum clapped, and Howie Mandel smiled widely. The crowd cheered loudly, and many stood up to applaud. Richard's years of quiet dedication and practice were finally being recognized in the best way possible. When Richard finished his song, the room was buzzing with excitement. Simon Cowell praised him, saying that America would love his heartfelt performance. Howie Mandel commented on how Richard's performance felt so genuine and full of love. It seemed like Richard was on the brink of something even bigger. Then came a moment Richard could have only dreamed of. Heidi Klum, moved by his performance, reached out and hit the golden buzzer. Golden confetti rained down on him, marking his rise to a new level of recognition. Overcome with emotion, Richard cried tears of joy. This was the validation he had been hoping for after so many years of hard work and passion. But the surprises didn't stop there. After the performance, Richard spoke to the crowd and shared that he had never even been on an airplane before flying to California for the show. His journey from a janitor in Indiana to a celebrated performer on one of the biggest stages in the world was like a dream come true. It was a powerful reminder that our passions can take us to places we never imagined. Yet a phone call home showed the mixed feelings of his sudden fame. Angie's remote cheer. Richard, filled with joy after his big win, quickly called his fiancée, Angie, to share the exciting news. Angie, proud beyond words, wasn't surprised that his beautiful voice had earned him the golden buzzer. Unfortunately, she couldn't be there to celebrate with him because of money troubles, which added a bit of sadness to the otherwise happy moment. The unforgettable moment was recorded and soon posted on YouTube, capturing the hearts of people around the world. Among the comments, students from Richard's school poured out their admiration and support for his brave step into the spotlight. One student wrote about how lucky she felt to have always cheered Richard on, saying his voice was like a wonder that made her school days brighter. She ended her message by calling Richard a true hero. Another student from a nearby school shared similar feelings, adding that there couldn't have been a more humble and deserving person to win. This student was excited for America to see what they had known for over 20 years, that Richard's simple beginnings hid an extraordinary talent. But this wasn't the best part. The general feeling was clear. Richard had won more than just the golden buzzer. He had deeply touched many lives. His performance wasn't just about his singing. It was a message of hope, persistence, and a personal reminder to keep chasing your dreams, no matter how hard it gets. After his performance, Richard went backstage for a private chat with the show's producers. Overcome with emotion, he spoke through tears, saying, "I'm just a regular guy, the one who cleans the tables, takes out the trash, and sweeps the floors." Yet, even with these simple tasks, he never stopped singing to the students, always doing what he loved. Just like the song he performed, "Don't Stop Believin'." He looked back on his younger days, remembering the hours he spent in his room with his old stereo, singing along to his favorite songs with all his heart. But this wasn't the worst part. Given Richard's modest job as a janitor, America's Got Talent stepped in to help by covering all his expenses for the competition. However, Richard still faced challenges with other costs like plane tickets and places to stay for his support team. Seeing this, a community member from Terre Haute, Indiana, named Chris Bond, started a GoFundMe campaign to gather extra support for Richard. Chris's message asked the community to stand by their local hero, saying, "Let's give Terre Haute, Indiana's AGT Golden Buzzer winner, our support." The goal was to help Richard focus fully on his performances without worrying about money, and hopefully bring his family and friends along to support him. The community's response was incredible. The fundraising campaign was launched on May 30th, 2024, and by July 19th, the goal was not only met, but exceeded, raising an impressive $119,000. This outpouring of support showed just how deeply Richard had touched people's hearts with his story and his talent. It was their way of saying thank you to him for inspiring them and helping him continue his journey on the show. But this wasn't all. This collective effort meant Richard had everything he needed to move forward in the competition. Backed not only by America's Got Talent, but also by a community that now saw him as a symbol of hope and strength. The support was more than just money. It was a powerful show of unity and belief in the great potential found in even the most unexpected places. Richard's journey had become more than a personal dream. It was now a shared experience for many who saw a bit of themselves in his story. People believed that if Richard, a janitor from a small town, could achieve something so big, then maybe they could too. And this belief kept growing stronger with each step he took on his path, supported by a world that had come to cheer for him, not just because of his voice, but because of the heart behind it. As opportunities came his way, Richard stayed true to his roots, facing a big question about what comes next, from janitor to sensation. Despite all the praise and new fame, Richard Goodall, the humble janitor from Terre Haute, Indiana, stayed down to earth. When people asked him if all this attention might make him proud or vain, he just laughed and said he had never been one for fancy things. His performance video on YouTube had already reached over 19 million views, making it the most watched clip of the season on America's Got Talent. The world was amazed by Richard's singing, but they had only seen a small part of his story and the struggles he faced to get there. Richard's journey to this point was one of persistence, strength, and a steady commitment to his dreams. While many people his age might have been content with a quiet life, Richard was determined to keep chasing his musical dreams. He had always wanted to share his voice with more people, and America's Got Talent finally gave him the chance to make that dream come true. But this wasn't his first try. Back in 2009, Richard had auditioned for America's Got Talent, filled with hope and excitement. He was ready to show the world his musical talent. But things didn't go as planned. He was cut after the first audition in Chicago. This rejection left him feeling sad and defeated, but it also made him more determined. Instead of giving up, he decided to try again, sending a video of himself singing "Don't Stop Believin'" to The Voice. But this wasn't the worst part. The response he received was another disappointment. The email from The Voice thanked him for his interest, but said he wouldn't be moving forward. This news hit him hard, especially since he was used to hearing praise for his singing. He began to doubt himself and even felt like giving up. He took to social media to express his frustration, saying he deserved a chance and that it seemed unfair how the entertainment industry often favored younger singers. His post quickly gathered support from his fans, who agreed with him and criticized The Voice for their choices. Still, Richard held on to hope. The students he saw every day at schools kept cheering him on, reminding him of his talent. Their belief in him helped him find the strength to try again, and eventually, he decided to return to America's Got Talent. But what sparked this renewed interest in his talent? The answer came in a surprising moment in 2022. At a talent show for fifth graders at Davis Park Elementary School, Richard was asked to perform a closing song. He chose "Don't Stop Believin'" instead of his usual "God Bless the USA" to inspire the kids to follow their dreams. In jeans, a ball cap, and his janitor's keys jangling at his side, Richard sang with all his heart, and the room lit up. The kids, who hadn't expected much, started dancing and cheering, joined by the adults in the audience. But this wasn't all. Unbeknownst to Richard, a staff member named Mariah Dean recorded his performance and posted it on TikTok. The video showed not just his amazing singing, but also his ability to touch and inspire others with music. The very next day, Mariah told Richard that the video had already gotten over 100,000 views. Within a week, it had reached more than 1 million, surprising everyone who watched and revealing the incredible voice of a janitor who loved to sing. This unexpected success online was the break Richard needed. Suddenly, people everywhere were noticing his talent, including some big names in the music world. Even Steve Perry, the former lead singer of Journey, saw the video and was moved by Richard's heartfelt version of the song he made famous. But that wasn't the end. Richard's hometown of Terre Haute came together to celebrate his success. Local businesses and community leaders organized a special send-off party. At the event, he was showered with gifts, including a lifetime supply of dressing from Mullen's restaurant. But the most surprising moment was when country singer Walker Hayes, touched by Richard's humble spirit and talent, gave him a brand new car. For years, Richard Goodall's singing voice filled the empty hallways of the school where he worked as a janitor. His deep, warm voice carried his feelings and life stories to the few students who happened to hear him while he cleaned. Music was his way to express himself and find comfort in the routine of his daily work. Though he had an incredible talent, Richard never thought of becoming a professional singer. It seemed like a distant dream, something that he believed had already passed him by. But everything changed when his co-workers encouraged him to audition for America's Got Talent. At first, Richard wasn't sure. However, with their kind words and support, he finally decided to give it a shot. He chose to sing Elton John's "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me," a song that held a lot of personal meaning for him. As he sang, the audience was spellbound by the emotion in his voice, feeling every note along with him. The moment he finished, the room exploded with applause. Even Simon Cowell, the usually tough judge, seemed genuinely moved. "Richard, where have you been hiding all these years?" Simon asked, sounding both amazed and curious. The other judges shared Simon's admiration, praising Richard's performance and unanimously sending him to the next round. But this wasn't the only surprise. Richard's audition clip went viral, turning him from a humble janitor into a national sensation almost overnight. Social media buzzed with clips of his performance, and news stories quickly spread about the quiet janitor with the voice of an angel. Suddenly, Richard found himself facing new opportunities he had never imagined. In the days after his TV appearance, Richard was flooded with offers. One of the first came from a local recording studio that wanted to help him make an album. "We want to share your gift with the world," the producer told him. Feeling both nervous and excited, Richard stepped into a professional studio for the very first time, ready to take on this unexpected new chapter of his life. But that wasn't the best part. Soon after, Richard was invited to perform at different places, from charity events to music festivals. A talent agent from Los Angeles reached out, convinced that Richard's voice could touch millions. Inspired by this belief in his potential, Richard agreed to work with the agent, opening the door to a real music career. With the support of his family and friends, Richard fully embraced his new path. He released his first album, a mix of soulful songs and classic hits, which received great reviews. As his music career took off, he traveled around the country, performing with well-known artists and winning over new fans everywhere he went. Despite his quick rise to fame, Richard never forgot his roots. He often returned to Terre Haute, visiting the school where he had worked for so many years. "I'll never forget where I came from," Richard said in an interview. "This school, these students, they're a part of who I am." But his story doesn't end here. Richard's journey is more than just about becoming famous. It's about holding on to dreams and how life can surprise us with new chances. From singing alone in school halls to performing for thousands, Richard Goodall's story is a reminder that the most amazing talents can be found in the most unexpected places, just waiting for their moment to shine. Thanks for watching. Do talent shows unfairly favor sensational stories over true talent? Share your thoughts, like, comment, and subscribe for more content.